What's going on, everybody, and what's going on, folks? My name is David, and I am your host of this legendary podcast, the Deconstructed Topic podcast. Once again, my name is David, and I'm your legendary host. We have a special edition of my podcast for those who are listening to for the first time or who are new. Please hit that subscribe. I'm glad that you're here. For those who have been following me and so on, it's been a while. I kind of have taken a little bit of a break in terms of doing the podcast, as I've been just trying to address a couple of personal things here and there. But we make it happen like I did, and I say that 2026 is going to be legendary, and we're going to finish the year legendary, because around this time of the year, during the holidays, the Christmas season is the time where we kind of get a little bit of that little stress level goes a little bit up, and I don't want people to kind of forget where they at, where they've been at, what they have done, what they have, and what they have coming. My podcast is called the Deconstructing Topic podcast, because we grab a topic and we deconstruct it, and we're here talking about a little bit of it all. And today we have a nice little kind of reminder, motivational kind of thing here, a little life lesson here that sometimes ain't listening. I'm glad that you listening to my podcast, and we got always hit that subscribe and follow, and please feel free to share, because it's going to get a little bit of emotion in the time that the stress level is out there. I feel you. As a young kid, I always remember myself being a teenage homeless. Hey, listen, even a young kid, times was hard. Living in a household, times was hard. And Christmas to me was not something where I would wake up and expect anything. Matter of fact, I think I would be a little bit upset if I see that my mother's, going a little bit beyond the scope of what she can to get me something. I appreciate it. But me, as a young kid, I've learned, and there were a couple of Christmas where I spent time in the streets, staying in the streets, and so on. And I learned a lot from that, you know what I mean? And I appreciate those people who've been there with me for the longest. But, in the time that we have here, and this time that we feeling a little bit out there, like a little bit out of it, because sometimes this is the time of the year where that pressure comes in, where people are just like, hey, listen, what you're going to do, what you've done this year, and so on and so forth. But I'm glad that you're listening to my podcast. I'm glad that you came across, because we need a little bit of motivation. And sometimes in life, we got to remember things that we had, things that we didn't have, things that we have, things that we don't have. And we're always going to have that in mind, that what exactly can we do to change things? What is it that from being here to not having this? And I want to say that during the Christmas time, for those who kind of, even if you're not in the scope of celebrating Christmas, of celebrating the life of Jesus, birth of Jesus, if whatever it is, even if you take that out, and you just celebrate Christmas as that kind of commercial thing where, the gift for giving, whatever it is. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, even if we are not Christian, even if we are not celebrating, or even if we're not. Sometimes there's that pressure that if you don't have it, you're going to feel a certain way. And that's why, sadly, when it comes to self-deletion and things of that nature, it skyrockets. Depression hits an all-time high. And if you're listening to this, please gather the troops, family members, co-workers, wherever you at, by yourself, whatever you at that you're listening to this, gather everybody. And sometimes, all I said, that the best gift, and I always remember this. I remember a long time ago, and I've said this to a couple of people. I think I told my nephews. I remember I told my brother. My brother was like, hey, listen, you didn't give me a Christmas gift. And I said, you know what? The best gift that you have is that I'm your brother. You know what I mean? The same thing I told my nephews. Hey, listen, the best gift that you ever get is going to get that I'm your uncle. And sometimes that's what we need. We don't need that actual gift. Sometimes the gift of love, sometimes the gift of care, sometimes that gift of listening. And for those people out there that want to wake up and they're not filling up to par, and they're like, damn, tune into my podcast. My information is on the description. I'm everywhere. I'm YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Reach out to me at D-constructingTopics or D-constructingT. I'm going to put my info, my email. Reach out to me. DM me, Instagram, and all that, because sometimes we have each other. And sometimes what happens for the most cases when we hit kind of that depression, that kind of time, what happens is this. is that we start to reflect on the things that we had and we didn't have, or the things that we had and now we don't have. And I always say that sometimes if you look at our lives, sometimes we condition to things to be so perfect that one day that something that don't happen our way, then we start going a little bit like, oh man, what's going on? What happened? What did I do wrong? You see, we can't allow ourselves to think about the things that we didn't have or we never had or anything to that effect. We got to think about what we doing now. What are we doing that we have? What the power that we have in our hands, we have in our mind, that I said 2026 is going to be legendary. And I'll guarantee you, my podcast, we going on legendary heights in 2026. Now, I'm not one to say, hey, listen, let's wait until 2026. No, it starts now doing this podcast. If you're out there and you're feeling like certain way because of things not working out, because let's say if you're a parent who's struggling, that might not have means to bring your kids something, because sadly it's a trick world fact. And I live in this beautiful country. I live in New York City, but sometimes we turn everybody into, how can I say, consumers. And as a young kid, hey, listen, I went to school and I saw kids, rocking the Timberlands. They came from Christmas and the New Year. They rocking Timberlands. They rocking the new Jordans. They rocking some nice jacket. Not me. But you see, it didn't dawn on me, oh man, I wish I had that. Or I wish I was, that was not me for some reason. Because I already understood, even at a young age, being, instilled with me that, listen, the gift of life, it's not me, it's other things, And then for me to see those things, and there's a lot of times that people start to kind of see, oh, but I used to do this, but I used to do that. For those people who know me, and I've mentioned this, I was in a car accident 20 years ago. And it left me, a little bit, can I say, kind of walking a little bit like a penguin. No, I'm still look handsome, I'm still walking, but sometimes my foot hurts where I limp a little bit. And I always remember, look, listen, I'm here to tell that story. There's people out there, this happened to me. And I appreciate a lot of people reaching out to me. They say, David, what happens to your podcast? You're not doing more. And I'm like, you know what? I'm dealing with something personal. And it's going to be, I'm going to bring that topic because, and I'll give you a little hint for those people out there. Yo, wait a minute. What's Steve dealing with? It's personal. Why is he talking to this about my and his podcast? It is my podcast after all. But I want people, I share my stories in this podcast so we can learn. And I spent 6 years being somebody's guardian angel. And I spent 6 years saving somebody's life. They reached out to me. And they were ready to drive a car down a cliff. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a beautiful story. And they reach out to me, and because of me, they allowed to tell that story. Amen to that. Let's go. Woo, let's go. And then sometimes I say to myself, this is that gift when I started to experience those things, that's when I decided, I got to do a podcast. I always thought about doing a podcast. Hey, I'm still probably a book. Oh, yeah. Doing a book? Absolutely. We're aiming for something. Woo. But I got to aim and I got to be here because I want people and I want to be able to help people. Remember, don't think about those things. Just go back to the car accident. I wish I was doing certain sport. I wish I was playing basketball. I could be thinking that, but I don't drown myself in that. And even this year, celebrating my 20th anniversary, I spent too much. Sometimes I feel like I spend too much time talking about surviving instead of living. And that's why I decided that I got to address certain issues in my life because I got to address them and I got to address them now. If I spent 6 years being somebody's guardian angel and being that person that saved their life, and all I said, you know what? I always believe the power of two. If what I did for you, you give me at least 10% of you, and sadly in that story, behind that story, again, I'm not going to try to spoil it, but it seems that I became somebody's guardian angel, and when I needed them, it was a little different story. You know what I mean? And sometimes we're going to think about those things, like the things that we don't have. And we're going to think about these little things that we like, guess to us. But look where we at now. You're listening to this podcast. You're listening to in life. You're doing something. That means that you got the power to do something. That means you're alive. People reach out to me and say, hey, David, once again, we miss listening to you. We miss listening to your motivation and so on and so forth. Hey, that's why you got to subscribe everywhere I'm at. So you won't miss a beat and hit that notification. Because once again, I always said to people, we only got each other. And think about what's in your hands. What's the power? What's in your mind? What are you going to do next year? What are you going to do today? As you're listening to this, what are you going to do in the next second? Are you going to dwell on what you didn't have or don't have or what you had? It's very seldom in life when people wake up, even the people with so-called success in terms of the financial world, just because you got money. Sadly, somebody passes away, money doesn't bring them back. Money doesn't sometimes bring happiness. Just because you're here, it doesn't mean that. There's a lot of people that do the most that they can with what they have. And that's what I always have said. I always try to maintain that philosophy that do what you can with what you have. And what you start to do things out of nowhere. There's always that saying, make a bowl of rice with just 1 grain of rice. You know what I mean? Because we can't do things that is going to better ourselves so that we can make 2026 again. Sometimes whether it's in relationship, financially, spiritually, motivationally, there's so many physically, there's so many things that, we feel that we lack of or we missing. And I'm one to say that, hey, listen, I'm the same way. Like, I feel like I'm in that cusp of doing something legendary. And I will. But I just know that I need to address those things and I need to address it as soon as possible. Hey, I enjoy my little adult beverage. Hey, you enjoy, I enjoy it. Well, there are times that I kind of question my decision. I think you went a little bit too much. Hey, that's something that we need to address. Hey, I'm a party boy. Let's go. Woo. Let's make it happen. But the fact that we cannot allow ourselves to sit in here, think of what we didn't have or what we don't have. I'm telling you, we have something. We have a heart. We have a mind. What's in your hands? What's there? What's in your heart? What it is that you're going to wake up and you want to say to yourself, I'm going to do this. Sometimes when we fall into these depressions, what we do. And then sometimes that's what it is. Trust me, I got a wonderful story to tell. Because I spent 6 years saving somebody's life. And when I spent those 6 years saving somebody's life, sometimes it felt like now I just saved somebody from driving a car down the hill, down a cliff. And sometimes I start to feel like, wow, just because I did that, now it's my turn to throw myself off the bridge. And sometimes I felt that way. Again, in the grand scope of things of that story, I will share that story. It's a beautiful story. But sometimes we feel that way. We feel not that we just want to quit and decide to just boom and self-delete, but sometimes we feel defeated. Even if you're alive, walking, sometimes you feel like you're just a walking dead person spiritually, emotionally, whatever it is. Because we just think about that thing. And a lot of times, look at this. As a Christian, we kind of, how can I say, we bathe ourselves in these sinful activities of whatever it is. And when we don't have it anymore, we like, oh, what happened? What happened? You see how sometimes what happened when you walk in that path? It's only one thing to say, one thing to feel. Sometimes walking those paths, as much as we enjoyed it, doesn't mean that they were good. There are times in life you could say, you know what, I regret doing this, I regret. Yeah, there's people that say, yeah, I'm living life, no regret, but guess what? Sure, regret something. Why not? Absolutely. But guess what? What are you going to do now? I live and learn, right? At a time that it's hard to live and learn, in a time that it's, it becomes harder and harder as each year passes by, each second passes by, each day passes by. But I'm here. And I tell you this much, I'm here alive to tell these stories. I always tell people, hey, listen, I live life. I was a teenage homeless, and it was hard for me. I didn't have a house. We stood in shelters. But something kept on telling me, David, you're going through this because people will learn and people are going to feel inspired by your stories. And that's what I'm doing in my podcast. And once again, share their stories. Share my podcast if you think that you know someone, even if yourself, your family, your friends, your co-workers, if you feel, hey, blast this in the radio buzz with all respect to the other people, keep it low. People will find a way. We got each other. And we're going to transition where 2026 is going to be that legendary. But we're making it happen because we only have each other once again. So don't think, as you listening, don't think that, hey, don't think about yesterday. Don't think about tomorrow. Think about what you're doing right now. Right now as we speak. 1 second at a time. We're doing something big, and you already know. Not only am my name is David, and I'm your host of the Legendary Network, or this legendary podcast. You are a legendary listener who's going to make legendary things, and it's going to make everybody legendary. Because I once said, and I say this so many times, I'm doing great even if I'm not doing good. But guess what? I'm feeling legendary. Let's make it happen. Holla at your boy. Feel free to reach out. All my information will be on my description. Feel free to reach out. Always good to have a little donation here and there. Always good to help each other out. Feel free. Make it happen. Share it. Hit the like button. All that good stuff. And I'm out of here. Much love. I'm out. Peace.